In today's episode, I want to address one of the deeper forces at play behind our real life adult experiences, and they are the 4 core wounds children experience between the age of 0 to 7. And if by the end of this episode you feel like there are some active wounds playing out in your life, your business, your relationships, you're getting triggered and you want to learn some new skills on how to reprogram yourself so that you don't become so reactive, you don't have these experiences happen again and again, then I would love to invite you to my free webinar that I'm hosting this month, which is all about reprogramming our subconscious beliefs and subconscious programming, which is all about reprogramming our subconscious mind, which is going to help you rewire yourself to have different meanings toward the information that's coming your way. And this is going to free you up to have more desirable experiences, less reactive, and be more in charge of your thoughts, feelings, and actions. Okay, so today's topic is quite deep. So I just want to give you a precursor that I'm going to just share with you what I think that can be shared on a screen like this. But what you would also have to do is take the time and do the inner work to be able to move forward on your journey. The topic of core wounds is talking about what each of us experienced when we were wee little kids and we were not independent. We were dependent on certain people who were our caregivers. Now, so many humans don't grow up with caregivers. We grow up in different situations with different characters, and we end up having different experiences. The thing about this topic that is most relevant to being a business owner, being an adult, being in relationships as an adult is the quote you might have heard, "You attract what you are and not what you want," right? And what that paradigm is talking about is your vibration is attracting your tribe. Your vibration is showing you what you can have, right? And this is an inner work thing rather than looking at the messengers. So as an adult, you might have noticed that you have some times in your life where you feel really scared, really affected by certain people's behaviors. But instead of looking within, you have no control over the fact that you want to blame them, you want to push them away, and you want to sort of run away from those people, situations, just to feel at ease within yourself. So the best way I can explain this is almost like, when you fall over and you've got a big wound, that's like under the bandage, and somebody takes the bandage off without you realizing it, and then you're feeling so vulnerable that all you can do is just kick them and get away from them. And it's sort of the same kind of thing, but internally we have these wounds, and there's supposed to be, it's been systematized by psychology, positive psychologists, and internal family system. There's a system there by professionals that are looking at, what are the 4 main wounds that children grow up with, and what is the actual result of that is there is a developmental problem, right? So these wounds actually end up causing a problem with our developmental side of things. So our prefrontal cortex is the front center of the brain, which is responsible for all our conscious behavior. So our ability to learn things and then do it. But then the limbic system, that is the first thing that develops within us, which is the center for learning how to feel about things, and then learning how to get rewarded, punished, that sort of system. So pretty much it looks at, the emotional side of it. So we are emotional beings, and whatever we're attracting is a sign of our emotional state. Like if you feel great, then you're going to attract more great things. But if you feel like you don't deserve great things, that's coming from an inner feeling, and then you get shown what you think inside. So I want to just shed light on what I've learned so far on my journey, because it's been a key thing on my journey to breaking through certain repetitive patterns that kept showing up in my relationship zone, in my health, in my finances, in my business, right? And I really wanted to just say that if you're going through certain similar problems, you're not alone. This is kind of the new age battle, right? The new age problem that we have the privilege of solving, and therefore this is why I'm starting this topic. One of my mentors, as you know, is Denise Duffield-Thomas, and she's a money mindset coach and mentor. And she always talks about this thing called the energetic container. And she, it's a takeoff from a book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. We all talk about this threshold or the thermostat that we all have that is like an energetic thermometer. And it's almost like, if you've reached your amount of love and care, you will do everything unconsciously to stop that love from flowing in anymore. So what Denise talks about is this energetic container being like a container that we are, right? Emotionally, if we have the container the size of a bowl, then that's exactly the amount of money that we're going to manifest, or the amount of love, success, and all of that. But then if you can grow into a football field, then that's exactly the amount of love, success, and bliss you're going to be able to hold. So look out for that book, Gay Hendricks' The Big Leap, and also Get Rich Lucky Bitch by Denise Duffield-Thomas. So if you're experiencing currently that you're not growing in your life, right? Like you might be getting into relationships, but then they break up. You might have unreliable friends. You might have really mean bosses or managers or colleagues or friends or family members. You might have experiences where you can't really trust anybody, including your team or your colleagues or people that you get to know. These are all telltale signs that there are some wounds that haven't healed properly. And so there's a sensitivity and triggers that are letting you know that you need to come within and tend to them. And once you tend to them, who knows, your elasticity to grow into a bigger container for more love, trust, more desirable situations to come in will be available to you. So let's talk about the 4 wounds and what they are. And I hope so far what I've shared in my way has added some value to you. And I'd love some feedback. Obviously, these are conversations that are really best had at masterminds, in group coaching sessions, which I love having and doing, or even the trainings that I hold monthly. You're able to come and have a chat like this with me there, because it helps to actually hear what we're going through to contextualize it. But hopefully you're getting what I'm saying. So, summarizing what I said before I go into what these 4 core wounds are, is that wounds are happening from the age of 0 to 7, because as children, we don't have the language and the acumen to put context and make meaning that is constructive or mature for the experiences that we're having. And the experiences that we're having is happening on a limbic system development basis, not the prefrontal cortex level. So our ability to discern what that meant and if it's useful or not, it doesn't come in until we are adults. But if as adults we haven't healed those misconceptions of situations that might have happened while we were in our caretaker's hands, then that might be creating our inability to expand with the needs of our time, right? So if we're facing problems in our finances, relationship, health, work, business, and we're constantly meeting these problems, then it's not our fault. Rather, it's just a wound that needs tending. And these are the 4 core wounds. Researching on who talks about it the best, I found Dr. Marie Deselic to have done a really nice diagram on it, which is very simple to understand. And basically, it's talking about the fact that, our core existential wounds affect our identity development since we are children. And how that happens is through traumas or incidents that shape our identities, because we basically just look at the world through our feelings. So if we felt scared, which is so highly likely, as children, we get scared. As children, they get scared or they get intimidated. They're little people, right? Anything that they went through, we'll need to look at afterwards, because that experience cannot be the basis of the way we look at the world as adults. So our identity development gets, affected through those wounds that happen during that age. And how it happens is through the cultural situations that we're growing through, or the environment. We take on people's value systems and thoughts, and we are also looking at the caregivers, looking at them for direction and, what meaning they're giving to us. So a lot of this has shaped the identities that we might be operating from currently. So wound number 1 is shame. Wound number 2 is guilt. Wound number 3 is inferiority. And wound number 4 is mistrust. So let's look at them a little bit more deeply. Wound number 1, shame, is, it takes away your autonomy, like to be able to be yourself completely. And so the main issue you see yourself having is the worthiness. Like, am I worthy of love? Am I worthy of recognition? Am I worthy of appreciation? Am I worthy of the financial abundance? Am I worthy of this price? Am I worthy of, So the other side of it is, that we need to manage being judgmental of ourselves, others, because everything has its own polar shadow side. And you might want to check out my video on shadow work here above. But coming back to this wound, the shame that comes from that time is really talking about, a wound that was formed, and the meaning that we gave that is that we're not worthy of love. We're not worthy. Okay. Wound number 2, guilt. Guilt is where you feel incompetent. That, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, right? And so what you end up doing, the other side, the shadow side, is like you become a perfectionist. You might be going through life trying to get it right all the time. And imagine how hard that might make things for you, especially if you're in business. Like, if you look through my videos, look at the quality of my work, it's so not perfect. But if I was going to wait till everything lined up, then I would not be moving forward at all. And that, I'm just using my example. But there are lots of people that I meet along my journey, lots of clients that have come that are perfectionists because they don't feel like it's competent. They don't feel like they're good enough until they get it right all the time. So it's really important that we don't overcompensate on, this wound, because just learning to allow ourselves to feel good enough as we are will free us up a little bit more toward taking better, more fluid action in life. So wound number 3 is inferiority, is where we kind of don't feel like we belong. We feel displaced. We might walk into a room and we feel like, oh no, nobody recognizes me. I don't really feel like I'm accepted, right? And we start to feel like we don't belong there. And this can happen in online communities. It can happen in friendship circles. It can happen at school. It might have happened in high school, uni, business. When you're met with your clients, you might act all superior. Before I healed this one in myself, I used to just like role play as I saw people be in my life. I'm not going to go any deeper than this, but I've met teachers along my journey who have had a superiority complex. And after a while, it's like, well, you're so perfect, I can't be around you. No, but you get my point, right? We can tend to do that. If you see yourself maybe around your family, I myself have done that within my own family structure when I was younger, which is where I portrayed to be superior than everybody else because I was protecting myself, because I felt inferior. I was protecting myself, right? So a lot of people will protect themselves, but then you compensate for that unhealed wound by coming across as, well, I'm superior to you anyway. That's probably why I don't blend in or I don't belong. So there's a need to manage that superiority, because that can easily be a shadow. And then wound number 4 is mistrust, where betrayal is one of the biggest concerns. You may not trust anybody in your life fully because you're deep down, you have that unhealed wound that you can't just rest, So you start controlling. Like if somebody proposes to go out with you for an outing, you'll start to tell them the plan from A to Z. And then you'll start laughing about it, but actually you're trying to control because you actually don't trust that they can, honor you, And until you heal that, narratives don't change, stories don't change. You might put out something for your business and you don't trust that people will like it, and that's what shows up. So you start to control it by pushing it. You're coming across pushy in your sales calls or interactions with customers, and people don't feel comfortable around that. So those are the 4 wounds. I wonder if any of this is quite active in you currently. For me, there was all 4 of these were active at a certain point, and I'm still working through a couple of them still. And how I know that is because of the interactions that I have with people, especially people that are close to me, because they're the ones that can really trigger you quite a lot, right? But hey, sometimes if you've got an online presence or you've got a business going, little things will start triggering you. But instead of looking outside, it's good to look at inside about what is it really bringing up in you. If you're constantly scared of losing your business to bankruptcy, of energy, emotions, or money, then it's a good sign that you might be needing to look at a deeper area of yourself. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention today, because what is really important on this journey is that We do the inner quest as well as the outer quest, because that's what really true success means. And true success is having meaningful, enriching experiences in life that are a true reflection of who we are. And, most of the things that you might be going through right now is a sign that you just need to look after yourself. The external just shifts by our own ability to show up for ourselves. And then once we show up for ourselves, our natural action from that shifts. So it's not always that, we're not taking the right action. It's what we're coming from, or where we are coming from. Where is our action coming from? Is it coming from love or fear? Is it coming from hurt or, bliss? Is it coming from a healed or unhealed space, right? And the last piece to all of this is that when we are going through these situations in our childhood, we end up growing up with our needs not being met, right? So as a child has about 6 to 8 needs to develop into an amazing mature adult, secure adult. And so most of us, Gen X, Y, and Z, we haven't had this level of care given to us, because in those days and even now, most people are ill-equipped. It's not a common thing for people to get informed about how to look after other human beings unless they, invest in themselves, in their healing. So what's really important right now for you is to just observe, what are your experiences telling you about yourself? Are they bringing up your inner inferiority, mistrust, shame, or guilt? Because if that is the case, you're not alone and you don't have to do this alone. Okay? This is the work we do in our Empowered You program, because we work a lot on self-esteem building, right? Of course, as children, no one has a chance to look at how the child is thinking, because a child can't speak for themselves. So it's nobody's fault, right? Of course, sometimes we don't get the desired situation, and I'm not going to, talk more about that because we're not face to face. But I'd like you to keep an open mind to doing this work with professionals. And I do have a program here called the Empowered You that works with core wounds, that works with educating you how to meet your needs that were not met, which could have caused some, identity level gaps, right? Okay, so to summarize, the 4 core wounds that affect our identity development are: shame is where you feel unworthy. Guilt is where you feel that you're not good enough. Inferior or inferiority is where you feel like you won't belong or you're not wanted. And mistrust is where you cannot feel comfortable to trust anyone. And these are 4 core developmental wounds that every adult in our generation has experienced. Some of us have learned to heal them and learn how to meet those unmet needs, and some of us haven't. And if this is the first time you're hearing about this, if this is something that is active within your life and your business, as an entrepreneur, I have to say, you can't ignore this. And whatever I share on this channel is coming from having a lifestyle where I'm a business owner, a coach, a trainer, and everything. So if you're someone like me and you're trying to grow into a successful business owner, you cannot meditate and be healed. The meditation and self-care is one part. The other part is actually engaging with what's happened and healing the internal thermostat to be able to increase the container that can receive more experiences that are more aligned to our vision. If it's almost like inner gymnastics or inner flexibility class. So when you're ready to give up the fluctuations of life, true fluctuations are like not just the mind, but just even the life story. You're ready to have stable relationships in your life. You're ready to have a stable life. You're ready to have more success in your life, in your business, in your relationships. Then you will work towards rewiring yourself. And if you want to learn how to rewire yourself, come along to my free webinar, right? And you also get to see how I teach, how I share these methodologies so that you can reduce your triggers, whether the Empowered You program is the right fit for you and where you're at. All right, so if you want to learn how, click the link below to the next webinar. Ciao.